Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're exploring something really quite unique, maybe even surprising. It's this intersection between correctional facilities and, well, rescued cats.
Yeah.
And you, our listener, you appreciate getting right to the core of interesting topics. So get ready for some insights you might not expect. We're diving deep into how pairing cats with incarcerated individuals impacts everyone involved, the animals and the people. It's multifaceted.
Definitely.
We've looked at, news reports, a blog with personal stories, a video transcript, even the formal standards for animal-assisted interventions to really get a full picture.
And what's really striking, I think, is how this niche idea almost touches on these much bigger themes,
Yeah.
animal welfare, rehabilitation.
Exactly.
We're seeing these programs pop up, different approaches, but all kind of pointing towards the potential here.
Okay, so where did this all begin? Because it's not like a brand new thing, is it?
No, not at all. The whole idea of animals in prisons, that goes back to the 80s.
Right, I remember reading that. Mostly dogs at first.
Yeah, dogs were often the pioneers, so to speak. But cats have really found their place, too.
Yeah.
And the core idea, it's got this dual purpose that's pretty compelling.
Which is?
Well, on one hand, you're helping these vulnerable shelter cats, giving them a lifeline. And on the other, you're looking at how this interaction might actually help with rehabilitation for the inmates.
That makes sense. Addressing needs on both sides.
Precisely. Think about the shelters. I mean, some are really struggling with overcrowding, high euthanasia rates. These programs offer a different path for those animals.
A really different path.
And at the same time, prisons are always looking for ways to, foster positive change, maybe improve the overall atmosphere.
So it's a partnership. And we saw quite a few examples, didn't we?
We did. There's Alley Cat Allies working with prisons in New Jersey, but they focus specifically on TNR.
Trap, neuter, return for the community cats living on the prison grounds, right?
Exactly. Managing those populations humanely.
Yeah.
Then you've got programs like FORWARD in Indiana.
Felines and offenders rehabilitation with affection, reformation, and dedication. Quite a name.
Tells you exactly what they're aiming for, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And jail cats in Georgia, that one involves women socializing kittens.
Making them more adoptable.
Yeah. And Meow Mates in South Carolina, that was the one in the Animal Planet video we watched, really showed that direct inmate-cat interaction.
It did. And it seems like from the start, there was this hope that these programs could help lower recidivism.
That was definitely an early motivator. The idea that fostering responsibility and empathy might impact whether someone reoffends after release.
Okay, so let's talk benefits, starting with the cats. You mentioned high euthanasia rates.
Yeah, that's a huge factor. The Allendale County shelter, for example, reportedly had a kill rate as high as 98% at one point. That's staggering.
98%. Wow.
So for cats coming from situations like that, these prison programs are literally a second chance at life. It's not just shelter, it's a safe place with, dedicated care.
Right, someone is specifically responsible for them. Food, water, clean litter box, grooming.
Consistent care. And often from someone who really develops a bond with that specific animal, which can be different from a busy shelter environment.
And it goes beyond just basic survival, doesn't it? The socialization aspect seems critical.
Absolutely. That video from Allendale showed the cats living right in the cells with the inmates. It was a 2-month rotation.
Yeah, something like that.
That kind of constant, close human interaction. It can work wonders, especially for cats that might be shy or scared initially. They learn to trust.
Which ultimately makes them much more appealing to potential adopters.
Exactly. They leave the program better prepared for a forever home. And we shouldn't forget the TNR programs either, like the Alley Cat Allies one.
Right, because that helps cats that maybe aren't suitable for adoption.
Precisely. It stabilizes the feral or community cat populations on prison grounds, prevents more kittens being born into difficult circumstances, and it's a humane approach.
Okay, so the benefits for the cats are really clear. A lifeline, socialization. But what about the inmates? This seems to be where the transformative aspect really comes in. Emotionally, psychologically.
It seems so. I mean, just the act of caring for something vulnerable. For some individuals, like Malaya Stringer pointed out, she's been involved in setting up a lot of these programs.
What did she say?
She said something like, it was the first time they can remember they were allowing themselves to care about something, to love something.
Wow, that's powerful, allowing themselves to care.
It really is.
Right.
In an environment that could be, let's face it, pretty isolating and focused on punishment, suddenly you have this responsibility that's being relying on you. It gives purpose.
Structure to the day, too, I imagine.
Definitely. Feeding times, cleaning, playing. It structures the routine. And then there's the cat itself. Cats are, well, they're not judgmental, are they?
Not in the way people can be, no. That quote really stuck with me. Cats can't judge men and women on their wrongdoings.
Right. So it creates this safe space for emotional expression. You can connect with this animal, show affection, maybe talk to it without any fear of judgment about your past. That's huge.
And there are actual physiological effects, too. It's not just feeling good.
Well, research on human-animal interaction generally shows things like, lower blood pressure, maybe increased serotonin and dopamine, the feel-good chemicals in your brain.
So literally reducing stress and anxiety.
It seems likely, yeah. Which makes perfect sense in a high-stress prison setting. The sources definitely mentioned inmates feeling less lonely, less despair.
There was that anecdote from Monroe Correctional Complex, the inmate who considered himself a loner.
Oh, yeah. And this shy kitten finally warmed up to him, snuggled him, and he felt this rush of, well, he called it love.
That's incredible. And the cat whisperer guy there, too.
Right. He felt that learning to care for the cats, figuring out what they needed, actually improved his communication skills with people. Learning patience, reading nonverbal cues.
Which ties right into the behavioral side of things. It's not just internal feelings changing.
Exactly. Successfully caring for an animal, seeing it thrive because of you. That's got to boost your self-esteem, your sense of capability, what experts call self-efficacy.
Like, I can do this. I can be responsible for something.
Precisely. It's a concrete achievement. And this feeds into those soft skills we hear about. Personal responsibility, empathy we talked about, connecting positively.
And does that spill over into how people interact within the prison?
Apparently, yes. Sources mentioned improvements in relationships, generally inmate to inmate, some inmate to staff.
Really?
Yeah. Having this shared focus is common ground. It seems to sort of break down some barriers.
Like that story about
Yeah. The inmates all rallied together. That shows teamwork. Things that aren't always easy to foster in that environment.
And there was some actual research mentioned too, right? Not just cats, but similar programs.
Yeah, a study on Project Pooch that involved incarcerated youth working with dogs showed real, measurable improvements. Things like more respect for authority, better social skills, even leadership developing.
So it's reasonable to think similar positive shifts happen with the cat programs.
It seems very plausible. And of course, for the prison administration, having inmates participate can be a useful tool, an incentive for good behavior. You have to earn the privilege.
So, okay, emotional growth, behavioral improvement. What about practical skills? Is there anything tangible they learn that could help, later on?
Some programs do have educational parts, teaching about animal care, basic health, behavior.
Stuff you'd need to know to be a good pet owner.
Exactly. And there's potential there for more formal vocational training, too. Maybe skills in animal grooming or shelter work, things that could actually be marketable skills after release.
That could be really valuable for reintegration. Learning patience, teamwork, too, as you mentioned. Those are life skills.
Absolutely. Patience is definitely something you learn with cats.
Sure enough. Okay, so we've talked about the cats, the inmates. What about the bigger picture, like that initial goal of reducing recidivism? Is there evidence it works?
There is some research suggesting a link. Monica Selena Saunders at Indiana University has looked into this. It's complex to prove direct causation, of course.
Sure.
But the idea is that developing that empathy, that sense of responsibility, the improved social skills, all those things are crucial for successfully re-entering society and not reoffending.
It makes intuitive sense. If you learn to care for something else, maybe you care more about your own actions and their consequences.
That seems to be the thinking. And beyond recidivism, just the presence of animals seems to change the prison environment itself. Makes it feel a bit more humane.
Less sterile, less tense, perhaps.
Yeah. A national survey back in 2006 found prisons with animal programs reported things like reduced inmate stress, better trust and relationship skills, more self-control among inmates, and just generally a more humanized facility.
That's significant. There was that quote from a corrections officer, too.
Oh, right. Something like, this program works. Not only do we have a partner in Alley Cat Allies, we have a program that meets the needs of the cats, the facility, and the inmates. That sums it up pretty well.
It really does. Now, it can't all be smooth sailing, right? What are the challenges?
Of course, there are challenges. You have to ensure the animals are genuinely well cared for. That means proper training for the inmates handling them and for the staff overseeing it.
Safety, too, presumably, for everyone involved.
Absolutely. Animal welfare and human safety are paramount. That involves careful selection of both the animals and the inmate participants. And you need ongoing support, funding, community buy-in. These programs don't run themselves.
Yeah, and making sure they follow best practices, like those standards for animal-assisted interventions we looked at.
Yes, things like clear protocols, understanding animal behavior, risk management. It needs structure and professionalism to be done right and ethically.
So, wrapping this up, the key takeaway seems to be this is a powerful example of mutual benefit, maybe even mutual rehabilitation.
I think that's a great way to put it. The cats get a second chance, safety, socialization. The inmates get purpose, connection, emotional growth, maybe skills.
It's a win-win in a place where wins can be hard to come by.
Definitely.
So, as you, our listener, think about this, maybe consider how fostering these kinds of unexpected connections, these bonds that cross walls, literally, how that can spark really positive change.
Yeah.
It challenges our usual ideas about rehabilitation, maybe, and compassion. Where can we find potential for growth in surprising places? It's definitely food for thought.
It is. And if you're curious, definitely look up some of these programs, FORWARD, Jail Cats, the work Cat Allies does.
Yeah.
See what they're achieving.
Absolutely. It really shows the impact that empathy and connection can have, even, or maybe especially, in really challenging environments.
Profound impact, yeah.